I then told myself I was having a car because the lady wanted me to have the car as well. Make sure you look after Layla. She was crying and the car cuts out. I'm like, God, it's cut out. I'm on a main kind of road where you can't really stop. There's no verge. She didn't want to start at all. But by then I'd lost all confidence. We're only making plans for Layla. Not Nigel. Hi guys, welcome back to another Driven 24/7 automotive YouTube video, and once again you join me in front of my banner inside because it is raining outside and I'm just doing a talking video and it's just nice to do them inside basically against the hot radiator here at home. So guys, just a little bit of a recap into what this video is basically about. When I uploaded the video saying I'm back, and obviously here I am, I said in that video that I'd actually bought a car which I was planning to keep and modify, but I don't know why I'm doing this, but then I had to sell the car because it ended up being broken. So that is the story I'm going to tell to you today. So just to fill in the blanks, the Berlingo is still my ownership, the Type R was still in my ownership, so I had two vehicles at the time. As I said before, always looking for cars to buy. I'm always just browsing what's for sale. I'd seen this car come up for sale on Auto Trader. It was a nice round figure. I kind of thought it was too good to be true, especially as I recently got scammed from a scammer from Auto Trader. So what had happened was, well, I'm also going to have to tell you the car because that's what this whole story is about. There's no point in keeping it secretive, Amber, because this is what the story is about. I had seen for sale on Auto Trader a 1994 Honda Civic. I can't believe I forgot to say that this Civic was actually a Bali edition, which was basically a limited edition of this Civic, which meant there was under 30 left in the UK. So it wasn't just a rare Civic, it was a rare Bali edition Civic, which made it an EG3 because it was a 1.3 fuel injection. It was a rare manual because I have seen these cars come up for sale sometimes and I get all excited because I've always wanted to own one of those shapes of Civics. But to my surprise, this was a manual. So I think I'd seen the car for sale of an evening, and I think it'd been for sale for like at least a day. And because obviously this was a rare Civic for sale and it was at a good price, it had like a whole year's MOT. Nice little, very little write-up, but it said it was a private seller. So I think I rang and left a message, and because I had to leave a message on the answer phone, I thought, well, the car's obviously gone, hence why the person isn't answering. Anyway, the next day I was having a bit of a bad day. Basically I was having a really bad day, and then out of nowhere I had a phone call. I thought, who's this? I answered and it turned out to be this really sweet elderly lady, and she phoned and said, you phoned about the Civic? And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, well, I've still got it. So first of all I was like, okay, that's a surprise. And then she said that there were a lot of people phone up about the car. Of course I expected that to be the case, but she said a lot of the phone calls were from without me being sexist, her words, she said a lot of the phone calls were from chaps that were like quite aggressive to her, like, when can I come to collect the car? And the lady's like, I haven't said you can have it yet, so don't assume you can have it without me saying I could have it. Anyway, this lady was quite surprised to hear a woman, me, asking about the car, is it still for sale? And she liked that. So because of that, she basically said, look, I really want the car to go to a nice home. These guys that are hassling me don't sound like a nice home for the car. Are you still interested? I want you to have my car. So the lady lived about an hour and a half away, so about 50 miles away. I think she might have phoned me on a Friday, and I was arranging to go and see the car over a weekend when I was able to get someone to take me up 50 miles away to see the car. So in my head, this lady wanted me to have the car. I then told myself I was having a car because the lady wanted me to have the car as well. She then said that the car has a name, and the car was called Layla. I have bought a car with a name actually, but I forgot the name. But I just found it really cute. She'd owned the car. It had high mileage. The car had about 179,000 on the clock. But the lady had owned the car for around 25 years. She had a mechanic in the family that used to service it for her, so it wasn't really proper service history, but the car had been looked after. So that bad morning that I was already having, I was like on the verge of crying because things just weren't going right and so on. This lady just comes out of nowhere and just phones me, and it completely changed my day. So for that reason, I kind of felt like heaven had sent me to her, because my nan is in heaven, I hope. And this lady just kind of felt like a bit of an adopted nan, and we started texting and it was just getting a bit friendly, and I said, wow, you're like my nan. So anyway, me and the woman became kind of text messaging friends. And yeah, I arranged to go and see the car. That weekend, we drove the Berlingo up to 50 miles away to go and see the car. The Berlingo drove beautifully, just what the Berlingo's for, hop in, tearing down country lane to go and see this car. So we get there, I've got the cash out, the car's there, it's all great. The lady was just as lovely in person as she was on the old text messaging. I took the car for a drive, the lady sat in passenger. I noticed there was a bit of a misfire, and when I mentioned it to the lady, she said, oh, is there? And I was like, yeah. But I didn't think anything for it. The car was a bargain. It had everything going for it. And basically in my head anyway, it was a done deal on my end and I think on her end. And yeah, for that reason, the deal was done. The car was obviously taxed and insured, all in my name. And it was time to drive the car home following Martin in the Berlingo, who drove the Berlingo home. So although the car had a bit of a misfire when I test drove it, I just blamed it on, it was just cold. First start of the car for that day. The lady even got out all her CDs and she said, take some CDs with you for the long journey home. She was just the sweetest, and she just said, make sure you look after Layla. She was crying when I was about to drive her away. I gave her some flowers and she nearly cried, because I said, you know, thanks for letting me have her. I've always wanted one of these cars, because I have. I drove it home and it was absolutely perfect, running perfect. We even stopped over after about half an hour's drive. We pulled in at a garage and Martin said, how's the car? I said, Martin, it's amazing, this is such a cool car. And he said, yeah, it looks good behind me. The car was just brill. That all changed unexpectedly. So after about 50 miles of driving, I'm about 2 miles from home. We're at a set of traffic lights, it's gone green. I think they were changing to green, so I was going into first gear. Martin's in front, he's gone, and the car cuts out. I'm like, God, it's cut out. So I'm trying to flash Martin. He wasn't bothering to look where I was anymore because he was so confident I'd be fine. We were near home. He's gone off. I'm at this, it was on the main road, trying to crank the car, and it's cranking, but nothing's happening. I'm like, oh my God, I've broken down. Quickly phone Martin. I'm like, Martin, you've left without me. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not behind you, I've broken down. He didn't go that far, so we turned around. He pulled over, we'd broken down by a garden centre, so he pulled into the garden centre car park. Bless him, he's got a dodgy knee, and he's pushing me and this car into the garden centre car park. We park it up, I'm cranking, so it's fine. It's got fuel, the car had like half tank of fuel. She didn't want to start at all. With that, I was texting the lady. I was like, look, the car's just broken down. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't think anyone, my family weren't able to help, tow me, whatever. So like, we just abandoned the car in a car park. We went back home. I was ringing, Googling, trying to ring local mechanics, anyone to tow me or fix the car. I didn't think it was a battery related issue because the car was cranking. It just wasn't kicking in. Something wasn't kicking in to start the car. Anyway, kind of cut a long story short, as it were. Me and my dad went out to the car. We took a jump pack, although I don't think that was the issue. And we took a tow rope. So we drove the Berlingo there in order to tow the Civic with the Berlingo. We get there, my dad decides to take the air filter off and stuff. And sure enough, she starts up pretty much straight away with a bit of throttle. And my dad was like, well, there you go. I was like, oh, that's weird. So with that, I then drove it those couple of miles home and parked up on the driveway. Then me and Martin decided to take the car out a couple of days later. I was obviously very nervous. So we drove it about 5 miles down the road, there and back. Perfect. Nice little outing, perfect. Parked up on the driveway. Then it comes a day where Martin's at work and I'm doing my part-time YouTube. Get all nice in my little my clothes to get ready to film a YouTube video. Got my makeup on, look alright, car looks good, got my camera equipment all charged up ready. I drive it half a mile down the road, the battery light flashes. I'm on a main kind of road where you can't really stop, there's no verge. Luckily I saw the battery light flash and I felt a bit of a power loss. Thought, here we go. I managed to turn off down the roundabout to her left, and as I was pulling up the curb, it just conked out basically. No, not really, well, it just conked out, but luckily by this time I was on the verge and I thought, great. Luckily I was only half a mile down the road, but the car doesn't want me to put it on YouTube, it seems. So I tried cranking it wasn't happening. I phoned my dad, he was at work, he couldn't help me. He just said, you know, maybe you've flooded the engine. And I thought, now my dad the other day, he took the air filter off, so I'm going to do that. So I got out, did that, and sure enough, again with a bit of accelerator, she started and I thought, right, quick, get in and go. So I quickly drove her back home, put it on the driveway, and I thought, right, I've lost all confidence in this car. It was really annoying because in the short time I had the car, I literally had her for about a couple of weeks. I'd gone out and bought some Honda original alloys because she was on hubcaps. I really had plans for the car. I was going to invite the lady back down to our neck of the woods to see the car when it was all done up, because those Civics just look so cool, and the 50/50 tailgate boot opening thing was just amazing. But by then I'd lost all confidence. I was trying to contact my mechanic who put my Nissan 100NX on the road. He was off with flu, and it was kind of a bit of an urgency because I thought either someone's got to fix this car for me and I'm going to have to pay him to do that, or I'm going to have to sell it because I can't find an issue, and I'm not too bad with cars. My daddy'd come around and have a look, he didn't have a clue. Yeah, I'd put new fuel in it as well because that could have been an issue. I, to this day, don't know what was wrong with that car. It also never overheated. I just kept thinking it's a fueling issue or a spark issue because when she's running, but it was just so intermittent. 50 miles driving, she's fine. Half a mile driving, she's not. I don't have a clue. If any of you guys know in the comments below, or you're not going to know for sure, I guess, but if any of you guys have any thoughts, then obviously let me know in the comments below. So with that, I just thought, because I couldn't get hold of my mechanic, I just thought, oh, I'm just going to sell it. So luckily, because I know those cars, I was honest in the advert, I said it's got an intermittent fault, but in the back of my mind I thought someone might want to do a K swap, engine swaps, someone might just want to buy this car for the show was what I'm saying. And luckily that did happen. A nice guy came over, local, he bought the car on first impressions and looks, which was great, and yeah, I've told him she was called Layla, and he's apparently tucked it away for a little bit until he gets onto doing an engine swap, so it sounds like it's gonna to a good home. Again, although I was desperate to sell the car, I didn't kind of want to let it go to anyone anyway. I wanted it to go to someone that was going to look after it, and this guy seemed like he was going to do just that. So yeah, I wasn't meant to buy and sell that car. I bought wheels for it, I was going to lower it, and although it had high mileage it didn't bother me, but because I'd lost all confidence in the car, it obviously had an issue. Probably something really minor if you know what you're looking at and doing, but because I don't, I just sold the car. I did okay, but yeah, bit gutted by that one. The little Civic that got away from me. So that was the story of Layla, the Honda Civic EG3. As you've seen, I've been putting some photos in this video as I've been talking. We even took it to a little photo shoot. I only had my phone camera because my camera died on me. And yeah, even that night she drove fine, a couple miles down the road and back, she was fine. It was just so random. She looked so cool. I really loved the lady who sold her to me. But yeah, I was just gutted about that. That wasn't how the story was meant to go. She drove fine and then she just kicked me in the teeth and pulled at my heartstrings and all sorts. But yeah, she's gone to hopefully a good home. She had a good temporary home with me. Yeah, that is the story of Layla, the Honda Civic EG. Yeah, and that's that really, just a story I had to tell. It's quite interesting, it's obviously car related, hence why I'm putting it on my automotive channel. Thanks for watching, I guess. Bit gutted about that one, but at least I can say I owned a EG Civic, which was temperamental and broke. Not quite the same, is it? But yeah, thanks for watching, I'll see you in another one.